a man was in the restroom taking a dump. He smelled it before he walked in. It's not funny. How the hell did y'all get in this situation? Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is a follow-up to my first recommendations video, except this time I'm gonna be giving you 5 book recommendations that may or may not get you out of a slump. One of the things that I did not mention in my previous recommendations video is that yes, all 5 of these books and any other recommendations video I do in the future, yes, I would 100% recommend them, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to give you guys some of my dislikes, because no book is ever really perfect for me. And I should have prefaced that in my first video, because I think every single book that I mentioned, I also mentioned some things that I disliked. So what? I'm going to start with the most obvious recommendation. Most people have probably already read it. If not, use this video as a push for you to read it. Let me grab it this way. The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. Loved it. Oh, I did not mention this, but every single book that I'm going to mention, I did give a 4.5. The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. Love this book. Ate it up. So I would say this is more new adult. For me, if a character is between 18 to 20 and they're in college, that's just new adult. Jordan is 18 and she is a first-time freshman. She has 3 other girl roommates. One of the roommates, Vanessa, has a brother that is getting out of prison. She tells them, hey, I haven't seen Devante in so long. Can he come, for a bit so that we can hang out? Next thing you know, this one visit turns into a temporary stay, and this temporary stay feels very permanent, which is so crazy because this is taking place in college. I don't know what year this takes place in, but it's like, are there no RAs? Is no one checking these rooms? How did y'all not know somebody was staying there? A man at that, a grown man with girls that are around 18 years old. Yeah, this book will have you frustrated so much because Devante is a trip. The way that he manipulates these girls, the stories he tells, I'm like, what is going on? How the hell did y'all get in this situation? And I actually thought that as I was reading it, you're literally seeing everything unfold, but yet I got to a point where things had gotten worse, and then I started thinking back. I'm like, wait, how the hell did we get here? And yet I read it, but Devante, he would do little things. You give him an inch, he takes a mile. But it's not something that you really noticed, or at least I didn't really notice it. Or not that I didn't notice it, the characters themselves didn't notice it. And then he goes a little further and further and further. With that being said, I did obviously give this a 4.5, so I did have some things that didn't really work for me. Well, the one that I did like the romance. So if you are someone who likes a little bit of romance in anything and everything you read, myself included, I actually prefer a subplot of romance over an actual romance book for some reason. Normally in books that have a romance in it as their subplot, you can't really get it wrong because that's not the main dish. You know what I mean? That's not the main plot point. But this does have a side romance, and the side romance in here is interracial. So Jordan is black. These are all black book recommendations. Oh, no, I'm lying. They're not. The other one is, I want to say Asian. I don't know. We'll get to it. But the guy in here, I want to say his name is Nick. He's white. And this is taking place at an HBCU. So anyway, getting back to the one thing that was like, I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. For me personally, the ending was a little too much. If you've read Tiffany D. Jackson before and you read this book, you will obviously know that this is Tiffany D. Jackson. It has her written all over this book, even up to the ending. And I feel like there's 2 parts to the ending. I'm obviously not going to say what it is, but for me, the very, very ending, I don't know if that was really necessary. I think for me, I didn't like knowing that I started questioning everything that I read, and I started questioning a certain character. And I didn't really like that. I love this book so much. It frustrated me to no end. This is actually my second favorite Tiffany D. Jackson book. I would say it's in my top 2. I can't really decide if I love Monday's Not Coming more or The Scammer. Low key, I think Monday's Not Coming is still my top, and this is my second favorite. And then I would probably say allegedly. Next up is Such Lovely Skin. This is a YA horror. This is following Viv, who is around 18, 17, 18, and she is a horror gamer. She ends up inviting a demonic mimic into her life, and this mimic is wreaking havoc everywhere. I mean, getting her into trouble, getting people that she knows and loves into trouble. It was really good, so fast-paced, but the one thing I will warn, this has young adult written all over it, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's very easy to kind of guess what's going on and how things are gonna end. But that's also why I would recommend it to get you out of a slump, because it's so fast-paced. I mean, you can read it without really turning your brain on that much. Now, this one is on Kindle Unlimited. Well, at least last time I checked, and that's how I read it. This is the one that might be an Asian recommendation. I just don't remember. Or maybe the character might be like interracial, because I think interracial, y'all. Biracial. Because I think the author might be too. I want to say like Japanese and something. Or in something like Japanese and white. The details were disgustingly descriptive, at least for me. They weren't necessarily scary, and I wouldn't say the book itself was scary, but I also read it during the day. I think that it would translate well if it were to be made into a movie. The other thing that threw me is there is fake dating in here, and I don't think it was that necessary. I mean, it does come in handy in the book at some point, but the lead up to it, the reason why they were fake dating, didn't really make any sense to me. I'm also reading my reviews for some of these, and I forgot about another part of this book. During the summer, her baby sister died, and she keeps blaming herself. She wasn't arrested or anything, but we know as a reader she's blaming herself. She keeps saying that she hasn't told her parents the truth behind her baby sister dying. When you find out, or when I found out at the end, the real story of what happened, it's not funny. My jaw was on the floor. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting that at all. And I will say that also did affect the ending for me, because the ending is fine. It's just finding out what really happened and then seeing how it ended. I don't know. I mean, it's also YA and it's fiction, so it's like it's not gonna end on a bad note. I just knew when I started filming this video that something was gonna go wrong. I did not notice what it was until I started editing the same day, and I got to what I knew was the second to last book that I spoke about, and I realized I only spoke about 4. So here we are back with what's probably gonna be my number 3. I'm gonna put this between what I have as my number 2 and what I have as my number 3. So book number 3, I decided to go with another book to keep with the 4.5 star theme, just like the rest of these books. And I had 2 choices. I'm not gonna say both, but the one that I went with is Thieves Gambit. This is a heist thriller that features a cutthroat competition between the world's best thieves. It's marketed as a mix between The Inheritance Games, which is a book if you don't know, and Ocean's 11, which is the women's version. No, that's not the women's version. Ocean's 8 is the women's version. Ocean's 11 is the men. So it's a mix between those two. I think I've seen some of the men's, because I know there's multiple. I have seen that, but I have seen obviously Ocean's 8, and I would actually say Ocean's 8 as well. What this book has in common with the Inheritance Games books is the whole like riddles sometimes that they're working with, but it is so action-packed. There is a cliffhanger at the end, but luckily book 2 has been out for who knows how long now. I still have not read it, but I actually remember the cliffhanger from book 1. I would actually also recommend the audiobook. I did have the physical book. I tried reading it physically with my eyes, but then I was like, you know what? I really want to try out the audiobook, and the audiobook was great because there's so much action. Now, one of the reasons why I personally did give it a 4.5, even though it's not a romance book, you know, authors like to put in a little razzle-dazzle romance in, but the romance did feel a little forced. I actually remember reading it and thinking, I don't think we needed that little razzle-dazzle romance in there. I think we could have done without it. Now, maybe a little flirting here and there, but like a full-blown like romance and stuff. And like we know that it's most likely going to continue at some point in the second book. I don't think it was that necessary. The book itself was so action-packed, and I think that this book could definitely get somebody out of a reading slump. Next up is a book that is going to be in a video of mine. This video is going to be out first. If I miss anything, I will have 24 seconds from now in another video. Hopefully it will be out after this. I guess it's young adult, but I would say it's on the higher end the higher end of the range, like 17, 18, 16-ish, maybe even 15. But our character in here, I want to say he's 17, but his name is Neon. It's a very short book. All of these books I believe are short, but this one specifically might be the shortest one. So this is following Neon, and at the very beginning of this book, we start chapter 1, and it says right now. Right now in this book, Neon is hiding in the bathroom. He's locked himself away because he is about to lose his virginity to his girlfriend named Arya. The book isn't just about losing his virginity, but every single chapter does at some point circle back to that. And I really loved the formatting of this book. We get the lead up to where he is in the right now, and I thought that that was really genius. We move back in time every chapter. I thought I was going to be confused when I saw how the story was unfolding, but I wasn't. It was very easy to follow along. This book was so funny. It was hilarious. There's so many times I cackled so loud. The other thing that I loved just as much was Neon's disdain for the dog. This is the dog. The dog's name is Denzel Jeremy Washington. Not Jeremy, not just Denzel. It is Denzel Jeremy Washington. You gotta say the whole name, okay? You find out like how the dog is really involved into the story, but in the right now, we know that the dog belongs to Neon's grandma, and his grandma lives with him and his family. Well, they're all family, but you know what I mean. She lives in their household. This has got to be one of the funniest books I've ever read. Like, I wouldn't say this is a comedy necessarily. I think when people recommend this book, they'll probably recommend it as like a contemporary fiction book or something. Now, the one thing that I will say, there were parts that bored me. He definitely went into detail about a lot of different things. Some things rightfully so, because it did circle back in another chapter. And it's like, oh, for example, one of the funny moments in here, he has gone to the bathroom where he works to freshen up. Freshening up for him is taking some soap, cleaning his thing at the sink. Meanwhile, he already knew that a man was in the restroom taking a dump. He smelled it before he walked in. But he's like, I'm just gonna do my business and get out. But because he's at the sink, I mean, he has soapy hands, he's rubbing. What I think he says, cupping and scrubbing. It makes a sound. And then he rinses his hand, he gets some water, he rinses off. First of all, is that not gonna make a mess on your pants? That's what I was thinking as I was reading it. But the man, oh, I think I still have it bookmarked. The man that he knew that was already in the restroom, he says, "You ain't jerking off in the sink, is your son?" He said, "What? No, what?" In the mirror, I caught Mr. Stanfield's eye peering at me through the crack between the stall door and its frame. Just visualizing that in my head as I was reading took me out. But even this detail, at some point in the book, we get a little more background story to that, and I thought that was the coolest thing. But then there are some details that I don't think we really needed. For example, there's someone knocking on his bedroom door. He figures it's his sister because he can tell by the knocks. And he starts talking about the pattern of knocking, or the knocking patterns of his family members. And I'm like, did I really need to know all of that? So there were definitely moments where it kind of took me out a little bit. Not that much, but enough for me to not give it a 5-star. I saved my questionable book rec for last because this is a romance. I'm so nervous because I think it's very easy to recommend a thriller, to recommend a mystery, a suspense, even a fantasy sometimes. Books where it's more plot driven. It's easy to get into it. A romance, not so much. A lot of people are picky about their romance books. I'm a romance reader and am 100% picky. Sometimes a book does it for me, sometimes it doesn't. Surprisingly, this book that I'm gonna be mentioning really did it for me. I enjoyed it so much. This is an interracial book. So the book's name is Next Door Nemesis by Alexa Martin. I was not planning on reading Alexa Martin. Personally, I don't really read, I think I have read it, but it was like a wide choose, so it didn't really bother me that much. But I'm not into, what is it, what's the lettering? Black man, white woman? BM. Oh, this is whooping my butt. BMWM? Black man, white woman. Personally, that's not my taste. I kind of wrote her off, but I saw this book at my library and I'm like, I gotta read it. I already recognize the author's name. I'm gonna be reading this and I enjoyed, I'm uncomfortable. And I enjoyed the book so much. Collins is back home. Collins is the FMC. She's back home after going viral wherever she had moved. I want to say like California or something. And she's going viral in a bad way. So she has gone back home and she's moving back in with her parents. This neighborhood has an HOA. She ends up running for HOA president against her arch nemesis, Nate. Now, Nate is someone that she had ran into, and this prompts her to run against him for HOA president. It was definitely nemesis to lovers, you know, that dislike to like. I know some people are a little iffy about that, and I definitely agree that a lot of times authors don't give us enough of that dislike or enough of that enemies before we get to lovers. But this wasn't enemies to lovers though. It was more like dislike to like. And actually, I would say friends to nemesis to lovers. And that leads me into one of the things that I kind of disliked about the book, but I also wasn't that bothered. But let me explain. This book is steamy. Right before we get into the first steamy scene, like I can tell as I was reading it, oh, they're about to get it on. I was like, well, wait a minute. This feels a little early because, mind you, the book is short. So however many pages before, you know, they were still nemesis. And they're still nemesis after. I will admit that. But they were nemesis before. And I'm like, well, how do I know that they liked each other? This was also before I clocked that they had known each other since 6th grade. Leading up to that steamy scene, we didn't really know what had gone on between them. So that's why I was a little confused. Because it's like, okay, we're getting to the steamy scene, but I still need a little more background. Like, why do they hate each other? You know, how are they liking each other right now? Because I didn't get a hint at the time that they did. I mean, it's also a romance, so I know that they do like each other. But at some point, we do get a little bit more background. We find out that they've known each other since 6th grade, and obviously what happened between them. And then it made me feel a little better. I still kept my 4.5 though, but it made me feel a little better because the nemesis, the whole reason to me wasn't that serious. I wasn't that bothered by it. And then knowing that they did, you know, have some previous history, that made me feel a lot better about everything. It just came a little too late, right? Because I was able to formulate those negative thoughts about, well, I can't believe, you know, they're getting into the steamy scene. I need a little bit more background. But in the end, it turns out that I wasn't that bothered by it. That is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these and if you would also recommend it to someone if they wanted to get out of a slump. While you're there, comment down below this emoji, and I'll see you next week. Bye!